All right, final game for Bell Tire in Canada. Bell Tire taking on the Etobicoke Dolphins. I'm not going to be saying that name other than Dolphins for the remainder of the game. All right, as we get going here, we're going to have Grund in net, McKenzie and Martin on D, Hewer, Agbay, and Palucci to start off Bell Tire. The puck is down. Dolphins with the puck in neutral. Gaining the zone. Is going to come around to Agbay. Agbay down in the corner, flipping it to Hewer. Hewer trying to get free at her feet. Flanagan over to Martin. Martin got it on her stick off the boards, going up into neutral. Looking for Palucci. Dolphins with possession and a good stick by Agbay to redirect that puck out. Flanagan sending it the length of the ice. That's going to be an icing on Bell Tire. We'll go for a line change. Dobbs, Kazarowski, Clemens out with Bowman, and Caitlin Flanagan. 14:28 on the clock. Dobbs on the draw. Puck is down. Dolphins circling the Bell Tire net. They're going to go up top to their point. Making a move inside. Sending it back out to the boards. Cross ice pass. Back up top. Down low. Shot goes behind the net and rolls around. Dolphins sending it back up top at the half wall. Circling up by the blue line. Sending it in at the dot. Shot goes wide of the net. It's going to be picked up by Kazarowski, who's going to flip it out into neutral, where it's collected by the Dolphins in their own zone. Bell Tire on a line change. Dolphins regaining the Bell Tire zone, sending it down behind the net, now down into the corner. Hewer stepping in after the Bell Tire line change. Hewer is out there with Evans, Cruciano. Flanagan is going for a line change, and that's going to bring in Palucci. Dolphins send it up ice, chip it into the Bell Tire zone. This is going to be chased down by McKenzie. McKenzie sending up the half wall, intercepted in neutral by the Dolphins, who send it back towards their own zone. Dolphins now retreating in their own zone, go up through neutral. And a stick by McKenzie keeps him out momentarily. Gains the zone now. Pullback attempt by the Dolphins, sends it behind the net. McKenzie gets a stick on it, and Palucci sends it out. Agbay now in stride here. Agbay one-on-one. Agbay into the slot. Agbay being disrupted by two Dolphins. Good play by Agbay, and Palucci keeps it in. Agbay over to Dobbs. Up to Flanagan. Flanagan's shot is going to freeze play here with 12:40 on the clock. Good offensive opportunity by Bell Tire. We'll have a draw happening now down in the Dolphin zone. Dobbs to take it. Dobbs out there with Palucci, picked up by Caitlin. Caitlin, puck is sent down the length of the ice. It's going to roll down for, I guess, not an icing. Sent around by Martin to Agbay at the half wall. Agbay with a good stick lift is going to get that puck to go all the way down into the Dolphin zone. And she's going to go for a change. So on ice, we've got Palucci, Dobbs, Kazarowski, Flanagan, McKenzie, and Martin. Dolphins gaining the zone. Move past Caitlin, and a good stop by Grund. McKenzie sips it up to Palucci at the half wall. Palucci gets her stick on it, and it just gets intercepted by the Dolphins. Picked up now by Martin in her own zone. Martin moving up ice. Martin sending it up to Hewer. It looks like it's going to be not an icing. Dolphins behind their own net. Send it up the half wall. Chased down by Clemens. Sending it wide through neutral. Now grabbed by McKenzie. McKenzie going up the boards. She's going to send it deep into the Dolphin zone. Chased by Clemens. Dolphins at the half wall. Dolphins circling their own zone, coming up through neutral. And this is going to be defended by Bowman. Bowman, that shot is going to go over the shoulder of Grund to find the back of the net to put the Dolphins up by one here with 11:30 in the first period. All right, as we start back up here, Bell Tire going to look to even the score up. Evans, Dobbs out with Cruciano, Caitlin, and Martin. Puck is down. Dolphins with possession in their own zone. D-to-D pass. Going back to their other D. Sending up through neutral. Tipped in. Chased down by Martin. Martin with the puck. They hit it off the boards. Get it up to the blue where it's kept in by the Dolphins. Martin again. Martin sending it around the opposite way. Got Cruciano on the half wall. Cruciano getting that puck free, and it's picked off by the Dolphins. Dolphins moving in. Shot is blocked by Flanagan and into the netting to freeze play with 11:01 in this first period. So on ice, we are going to have Hewer out there with Palucci, Agbe, Caitlin, and Martin. Puck is down. Flanagan in the corner. Dolphins sending around behind the Bell Tire net. And Hewer trying to jam it up the boards. Going to get it free. Go back the other way. Going to end up at the half wall. Picked up by the Dolphins. Drop pass at the half wall by the Dolphins. Sending it down to the corner. Picked out by Hewer. Hewer trying to send it up. Intercepted by the Dolphins. A little bit of a collision there. No penalty. Dolphins down now in the opposite corner. Agbe trying to get that thing free. Flanagan stepping in the corner with Hewer. Working it free. Agbe gets a tip on it. To get it out, Agbe at her feet. Just couldn't quite make it out of the zone. Dolphins now shot across the ice. Dolphins circling at the half wall. Agbe applying pressure. Sent across ice. Shot in. Blocked by Grung. Dolphins recover at the half wall. Circling in. Coming in through the slot. And it looks like Caitlin got a stick on it. Cleared by Hewer. That's going to roll the length. Icing wave. And it looks like Dobbs now putting pressure on. And almost got that picked off. Dolphins now pick up an easy shot here. They're going to put that in for a goal with 9:34 remaining here in this first period. Dolphins somehow ended up with a player at our blue line on a line change. A long pass from their D up front was able to secure. As we start up again here, we're going to have McKenzie out there with Palucci, Kazarowski, Dobbs, and Clemens. Clemens back to McKenzie. McKenzie circling, sending it up top. Dobbs gets a stick on it, chips it in. Icing, no icing wave. Clemens going to be the first to arrive, sending it around to Dobbs behind the Dolphins net. Up to McKenzie. McKenzie shot in. Kazarowski looking for a tip out front. Didn't quite get it. Goes wide of the net. Dolphins now regain possession behind their own net. Kazarowski putting on some pressure, forcing the Dolphins to go D to D. Sending it up. And that puck coming up through neutral. The Dolphins in the Bell Tire zone now at the half wall. Cruciano battling for the puck. In there with Palucci. Dolphins up top. Sending it down low. Got in. Goes wide of the net. Picked up on the rebound at the half wall by the Dolphins. Palucci sending it around the wall. Looking for Cruciano. Cruciano getting a tip. Not quite out. And the Dolphins send that across the ice. Dolphins now circling in. Shot gets blocked off of, I believe, Palucci's foot. Picked up here now by Evans. And sent back in by Hewer. Dolphins gain possession. Circling in neutral. Chased by Palucci. McKenzie Flanagan out for Bell Tire, along with Agbe, Dobbs, and Martin. That puck comes out of the Bell Tire zone where the Dolphins retreat in neutral. Sending it cross ice. This is going to be defended by Martin, chipped in by the Dolphins, picked up by Martin behind her own net. Martin with some steam here. Martin looks like she's going to go cross ice, finding Palucci. Martin continuing on, and that shot by Palucci is going to be gloved by the Dolphins to freeze play. 7:40 on the clock. On ice is Bowman, Martin, Palucci, Dobbs, and Agbe up top. Dobbs on the draw here, happening to the right of the Dolphins goalie. Puck is down, and Agbe with a quick turn shot hits the crossbar and goes up into the glass. That puck now coming back the opposite way, defended by Bowman here. Shot goes off the side of the net, sent out. Quick shot from the slot is going to be picked up by Agbe on the half wall and sent down, where it's gained by the Dolphins, who send it up through center ice. Dobbs applying pressure. Now this is going to be defended by Martin, and that puck ends up in the back corner, picked up now by Martin, who sends it up the boards. It takes a funky bounce off the boards and is collected in by Agbe. Agbe up to Hewer. Hewer boards it out into neutral, where the Dolphins maintain possession. Now defended by Martin. Martin pushes wide and pushes that Dolphins player to the corner, where that puck comes across out through the slot, coming across and is almost covered up by Grun, picked out by Clemens and sent out to neutral. Caitlin Flanagan on ice with Martin now on D. This puck sent across and is sent to the back of the net. Picked up by Kazarowski, who's going to carry it out through to neutral. Kazarowski's going to chip it into the zone. Icing wave as it rolls behind the Dolphins net. Beltire going for a line change. Kazarowski out with Dobbs, Cruciano, and the Flanagans. Now in neutral. Coming across center ice. Dolphins gain the zone. Going towards the Beltire corner. Sent down behind their net. Sent around by Flanagan. Now it pops out front. And is picked up by the Dolphins in neutral. Retreating in their own zone. Cruciano on the hunt here. She just checked in with Evans. Evans gaining the zone, chipping it ahead. Dolphins with possession now behind their own net. Rolling up the wall and picked up by the Dolphins at half wall. Chased down now by Martin down into the corner. Martin hitting the brakes with two Dolphins on her. He's going to try and keep that puck going forward. And Flanagan now in that battle. And the refs are going to blow that dead as none of the players were budging. 5:24 remaining in this first period. Looks like the ref even had a hard time picking the puck up off the corner. So we'll have this draw happening inside the Beltire zone, taken by Hewer. Sent back by the Dolphins, wide of the net off a ricocheted shin. Sent around the opposite way. This is going to be picked up by Martin. Martin moving it up ahead. Finds Hewer in stride. Hewer coming through neutral. Hewer gaining the zone. Palucci waiting patiently at the glove of the Dolphins to freeze play with 5:06 remaining in the first period. As we start up again, Dobbs is out with Palucci, Agbe, Martin, and Palucci. Puck is down. That's Agbe back to Palucci. Palucci sends it in. A little bit of a rebound opportunity. Dobbs getting in there, mixing it up with the Dolphins goalie. Great win on that draw by Beltire. Trying to recreate that here. Dobbs. Puck is down. Same thing. Agbe looking for a quick turnaround shot. Goes off the skate of the Dolphin player. Goes to the half wall. Dolphins now with possession. Coming up ice. This is going to be defended here by Martin. Martin pushing the Dolphins player wide. Keeps her going wide, and she has to send it behind the Beltire net. Now chased down by Palucci at the half wall. Palucci's going to chip that out. That's going to come to neutral where the Dolphins retreat. This is going to be pressure by Agbe and Palucci. Martin keeping that puck from going deep. Agbe chipping it ahead. Agbe able to get that puck deep into the Dolphin zone. She's going to go for a change. Hewer's going to be the only one in. Hewer takes the play from the goalie and keeps it moving around, waiting for her team as they went for a change. That puck's going to now end up back in the Dolphins stick. Great play by Hewer there. as Bowman and Caitlin come out with Clemens at chip and pass as got Grun down. Grun able to reposition herself in the net. Kazarowski's going to send that up ice into neutral. Clemens applying pressure. Dolphins gain the zone. Off the skate of Caitlin. Caitlin down into the corner. Dolphins going behind the Bell Tire net. Circled around by Bowman. Drop pass by the Dolphins. Hewer picks that up. Tries to get it off the boards and out. Collected by the Dolphins at the point and sent wide of the net. Clemens at the half wall on the opposite side is going to send that up to the point where it's picked up by the Dolphins. Going point to point, or D to D. Looks like a tip, but a high stick. 3:24 on the clock. Dolphins maintain possession here. Kazarowski applying pressure. Shot goes in behind the net. Dolphins pick it up again. Back up to their point. D to D patch. Shot in. Covered up by Grun to freeze play with 3:06 on the clock. Line change for Bell Tire is going to bring out McKenzie, Martin, Cruciano, Evans, Dobbs. And Dobbs will take the straw as we begin again. Puck is down. Dobbs taking it down to a knee to get that puck clear. Dolphins regain possession in the corner, go up top. And Dolphins cycling here, sending it across. Dolphins shot in, blocked by Grun. And a rebound shot by the Dolphins, met by the stick of Grun as she directs it over top of the net. 2:50 on the clock. Same personnel for Bell Tire. Dobbs on the draw. Puck is down. Agbe trying to get that puck clear. That puck comes out of the zone. No offside. Martin sends it around to Flanagan. Flanagan trying to get it up. Intercepted by the Dolphins. Martin with a block shot. Martin blocks it again. Sends it up to Agbe. Gets a tip on it, and Palucci picks it up. Palucci's going to send it down deep, and Agbe's going to chase. Behind the Dolphins net. Dolphins making a quick move to the corner, up to their half wall. Pressure being put on by Hewer. Goes wide. This is going to be chased down now by the Dolphins as Martin gets a shot, stick on it. Run with a good save there. Down in the corner is Caitlin and Hewer in a battle. Caitlin sending it down the length of the ice. Icing's going to be waved off as the goalie came out to play and Bell Tire went for a change. So on ice, we're going to have Clemens, Kazarowski, Caitlin, Flanagan, Palucci, and Dobbs. Dolphins behind the Bell Tire net, sending it up top to their point. Misses its mark and goes to their zone, as which Clemens is going to put some pressure on as they retreat behind their net. Kazarowski coming from the opposite side. Kazarowski is going to go behind the net, chasing the Dolphins out. Dolphins at center ice here, sending it in. Gaining the zone. Shot goes off of Palucci's shin. She smacks it around the boards. Held in at the point by the Dolphins at the half wall now. Centering pass. Broken up by Kazarowski as that puck comes free into neutral. 1:09 on the clock. Dolphins at center ice. Gaining the zone. Drop pass back. Shot gets blocked by Grun. Picked up by Palucci in the corner. Dolphins up to the point. Under a minute to play in this first period. Palucci behind the Bell Tire net. Coming up through the slot. Shot is blocked by Hewer, and she clears as it falls down. Icing wave. Dolphins sending it up their half wall by their goalie. Evans streaking in, trying to gain possession here right below us. Cruciano now in the battle. Dolphins with possession. Cruciano keeping the pressure on as Dolphins go behind their own net. Cruciano into the corner. Puck sent wide. Dolphins going up through center ice. Defended by Bowman and McKenzie. McKenzie stepping in with a good stick lift. And coming up ice. McKenzie making her way around in neutral. Picked up by the Dolphins. Sent across as Caitlin comes in. Dobbs shoots it right at the ref. And the puck goes into the Dolphin zone. That's going to be the end of the first period here of play Bell Tire down by 2, looking to even this thing out as we head into the second. No ice cut right now. We will have one between the second and third period. All right, as we get going here back into the second, Grun going back to her net. On ice is going to be Martin, Caitlin, Colucci, Hewer, Agbe. Dolphins with possession in their own zone. Circling back, sending it wide here. Dolphins, that's going to be tipped in. This is going to be chased down by Martin. Martin behind her own net, sending it around, finding Agbe on the wall. Agbe up to Hewer. Hewer coming through neutral. Hewer now gains his zone. Looking for a centering pass, and it pops right out front. Colucci couldn't quite get a stick on that bouncing pass. Dolphins behind their own net, sending it out to the half wall. Up ice, finding Caitlin. Caitlin sending it out. Diving, saved by the Dolphins. Shot blocked one-on-one by Grund. What a save. And the Dolphins now at the half wall, chased by Dobbs. Dobbs with possession. Gets back to the Dolphins. Send it up to their point. Sending it in on net. Disrupted by Martin. Kicked out to Colucci. Colucci just going to fire it down and get it tipped into neutral. Agbe going for a change. Center ice is the Dolphins. Chased by Dobbs. Clemens now checked in. Puck goes deep into the Bell Tire zone. Chased by Flanagan. Dolphins making a move. Disrupted by Martin. And sent around by Dobbs to Clemens. Clemens trying to get a stick on it at the half wall to pop that puck out. Centering pass disrupted by Martin. And that puck is going to finally make its way out to neutral. Dolphins with possession now in neutral. Up against the boards here, right below us. Tapped out by Flanagan. Sent ahead. Hewer able to get, hopefully, a stick on it to send it deep into the Dolphin zone. Bell Tire on a line change now is going to bring in Mackenzie Flanagan, who interrupts that pass momentarily as it goes deep, and Bowman's going to chase. Bowman moving it around, finding Evans on the wall. Chipped into neutral, chased by Cruciano. Dolphins back the other way. Mackenzie sending it cross ice, intercepted by Dolphins. As they wait patiently at the line, quick move gets him in, and that shot is going to be covered up by Grund. 12:52 on the clock. Line change for Bell Tire is going to bring out Colucci, Dobbs, and Agbe with Bowman, McKenzie. Dobbs on the draw. Puck is down. Quick shot in is going to be turned aside by Grund, picked up by Colucci in the corner. She sends it back behind her own net. Dolphins pick it up. They're going to send it up the wall. B-to-D pass, misses its mark. Chipped out by Agbe, just barely didn't go out. Now Dolphins coming in through the slot. Shot's going to go over top of the net. And the rebound picked up by the Dolphins. Pass disrupted by Colucci. Colucci now with possession. Sending it up the boards. Gaining the zone. How did that not go into the zone? Dobbs finally sends it into the zone. Bell Tire D change is going to bring in Colucci and Martin. Down in the Dolphins' corner. Chipped up. That's going to hit the rafter. And that will be a face-off should be inside the Dolphin zone after they chipped it into the rafters. So we will have this face-off just to the left of the Dolphins goalie. Clemens, Schuer, Krasirowski, Palucci, and Martin on for Beltire. Stretch pass by the Dolphins is going to go down for an icing. And we'll try that all again. We'll have the same personnel with the exception of Flanagan. McKenzie checked in on D here. Hewer on the draw. Kazarowski, Clemens, Martin still out for Beltire. Flanagan, fullback shot in, gets blocked. They're tipped. Picked up by Clemens as she gets ripped hard into the wall. Sent ahead, picked off by Martin. Martin now sending it wide, looking for Kazarowski. Finds her. And that puck picked up by Flanagan. Hewer sending it ahead to Clemens. Clemens tips it in where it's picked up by the Dolphins in their own zone. Dolphins coming up through neutral. Dolphins going to gain the zone here. Sent wide by Evans. Looking for a centering pass. There's too many men clearly on the ice. But I guess we're all right with that. As they regain the zone here, it's going to be chased down by McKenzie. Dolphins circling up at their point. Drop it back for a half wall shot. Missed and gets blocked out into neutral. That pass disrupted by Cruciano. Now defended by Martin here. Centering pass. Broken up by Martin. Back out to the half wall by the Dolphins. Back up to their point. Disrupted by Cruciano. Taking a step in. Centering pass. Missed its mark. Agbe trying to get out to it. It makes its way out to neutral. And the Dolphins retreat in their own zone. Dolphins sending it ahead up through neutral. As they gain the Beltire zone, Agbe applying pressure at the half wall. Agbe totally disrupting the play and picked off by Palucci. Palucci now with a little bit of a break here. Palucci coming in. Backhand is going to go over top of the net. Missed its mark. Picked up by Agbe. Palucci now back with possession, trying to send it across. Agbe chipping it ahead to Palucci. Palucci gaining the zone. And that little backhanded pass missed its mark. Dolphins pulling in. Caitlin sends it wide to the half wall. And now Hewer picks it up off the half wall. Sending it ahead for Kazarowski. Kazarowski now trying to chip it forward. And a little bit of an awkward fall by the Dolphins there. I think Kazarowski really did anything. I think that Dolphin caught an edge. That stretch pass by the Dolphins gains the zone. And Grund able to get a pad on it where Clemens picks it out of the crease to send it forward into neutral. Now picked up by Dobbs. Dobbs on the wall here. Clemens is going to chip it ahead. Chase it. Pushed around as she goes into the zone behind the Dolphins net. Beltire line change is going to bring back out Palucci and McKenzie. Dolphins with possession coming up through neutral. Dolphins coming into the zone. McKenzie able to get a stick on it. Shot in. Blocked by Grund and covered up to freeze play with 9:16 on the clock. We go back in here. Dobbs on the draw. Tied up at the dot. Sent in towards the Beltire net. Picked up by McKenzie. McKenzie's going to come up the wall. Get a pass up to Evans. And that's sent back in by the Dolphins. Now picked up by Cruciano. Cruciano going up against the boards. Dolphins gaining the Beltire zone momentarily as it's chipped out by Evans and sent the length. That's going to be played by the Dolphins. Goalie sending it cross ice to the half wall. Beltire line change brought back in Palucci and Martin. Palucci on offense here as well. Hewer. Dolphins coming in. Shot off of the mask of Grund as she's using her face to protect that net. Sent around by Martin to the half wall. Picked up by Agbe. Sent around the opposite way by Palucci. And back down into the corner where it's going to be defended by Martin. Martin now in the corner. Gets a stick on it. Disrupts the pass. Picked up by Palucci in the half wall. Sent it ahead to Martin. Martin chips out to Agbe. Agbe now in a little bit of a rush. Stewart jamming that puck at hits a changing Bell Tire player, goes underneath the, and that's picked free by the Dolphins. Now at the half wall. And the refs, what is happening here? Sorry, a little distracted. There's some nonsense happening on the other side of the ice. Dolphins now possession of the puck, defended by Martin as they gain the zone. Drop pass to their point. Shot goes wide of the net. Picked up by Dobbs on the half wall. Tipped up the wall to Clemens. Clemens in neutral. Now Dobbs. Dobbs coming across the ice. Sending ahead off the skate of Kazarowski. Chased by Clemens. Glove down by Dobbs. Dobbs gains his own. Takes the shot. Goes wide of the net. Down to the corner. We've got Caitlin and Martin on D. Dobbs, Evans, and Cruciano in for Bell Tire. Sent back to Martin. Martin's shot in. Is going to be gloved down by a player in the slot. Picked up and now carried up through neutral. Sent in hard to the corner. And that's going to be picked up by Caitlin Flanagan. Caitlin sending it up, finding Hewer, who chips it in. This is going to be played out by the Dolphins goalie. 6:52 on the clock. Hewer, Cruciano out there with Martin, Bowman. And the Dolphins come up through their own zone. Out through neutral. This is going to be defended by Martin. Martin getting her stick on it, pushing that player down wide and gets the puck out up the boards as Agbe is now checked in for Bell Tire. That puck is bouncing around in the goal mouth and goes behind the Bell Tire net. Played by Hewer here. Dolphins coming out, blocked by Martin. Puck is done. We are going to have a penalty there on Hewer as we find the puck. There we go. All right. So that is going to be a penalty on Bell Tire. We will be going to the penalty kill on ice. It's going to be Mackenzie Flanagan, Caitlin Flanagan, Agbe, and Palucci. 6:09 on the clock. 2 minutes on the Hewer penalty. Dolphins with possession up to their point. D-to-D pass. Half wall. Back up top. D-to-D. Drop pass is going to try and find some open space. Bell Tire not making it easy, staying squared up on the Dolphins. And that puck's going to slide out to neutral. Dolphins have to reset. And now it's picked up by Agbe. Agbe is going to send it deep. And she's going to go for a change. So offense or forwards, we've got Dobbs out with Kazarowski. Flanagan still on D. That puck gaining the Bell Tire zone. Picked up by Caitlin. Caitlin's going to send it the length of the ice. And that puck's going to slide behind the Dolphins net. Coming up here through neutral. We're going to have a high stick on Dobbs there. We're going to end up here in a delayed penalty as their goalie makes their way. Not sure the Dolphins player just passed it to Dobbs. So that's going to put Bell Tire in a 5-on-3 situation for high stick. It caught her right in them. I mean, I think she went to pick the stick up and it was incidental. All right, so Bell Tire 5-on-3s. Agbe, Mackenzie Flanagan, Martin. Dolphins passing up top. Waiting for an open shot, not rushing anything. Shot in, goes wide. 42 seconds on the 5-on-3, down into the corner. This is defended by Martin. Now switching over to Flanagan and Agbe. Errant pass goes to the corner. Back up top by the Dolphins. Martin shoving players out. Disrupted the pass across. No goal as the net's off. No goal with the net off. All right, 22 seconds in the 5-on-3. Agbe won it back, sent down the length of the ice by Flanagan. This should waste about 10 seconds worth of time. It should get Bell Tire back to a 5-on-4. Now Dolphins are just going to hang out behind their net. 8 seconds remaining here in the 5-on-3. Martin on defense here. Dolphins coming down into the zone. Martin tying up behind the net at the half wall. Bell Tire out to 5-on-4. Now just a penalty kill for a minute. Dolphins sending it down low, defended by Martin. Martin gets a stick on it, sends it around the boards. That's going to find Kewer on the other side. And rolled off the stick, and Agbe is going to send it out. So that's going to go the length. Bell Tire is going to go for a line change as they have 35 seconds remaining on this 5-on-4. So on ice, you're going to have Kazarowski, Palucci, Flanagan, Caitlin Flanagan, and Martin. That puck coming down into the zone. Martin to defend. And covered up by Grund. The freeze play with 23 seconds remaining in the 5-on-4. Mackenzie Flanagan coming in for Bell Tire along with Agbe. So on ice, we're going to have Agbe, Palucci, and Flanagan's. Puck is down. Agbe on that draw. Sent up top by the Dolphins. Dolphins now circling, sending it down the half wall. Dolphins working their way inside. Drop pass is going to be disrupted by Palucci. 9 seconds on the penalty. Mackenzie hard into the corner, trying to freeze play. Caitlin working them all the way to the other corner and pinning them up against the wall. Dolphins picking the puck out. Bell Tire back on even strength as that pass to the middle was able to find the back of the net, making this a 3-0 game. So with 2:57 on the clock, Bell Tire down by 3 in this second period. All right, when we get going here, Dobbs is going to take the draw. Kazarowski out with Clemens, Martin, and Bowman. Clemens working that puck free, gaining it into the Dolphin zone momentarily. Puck sent around by the Dolphins up through neutral. This is going to be defended by Bowman. Dolphins hitting the brakes at the half wall. Kazarowski getting a stick on it. Bowman trying to get it up the boards. Dobbs jumping in the mix. Dolphins behind the net. Chased down by Martin. And cleared out. That's going to be sent back in. And a sharp angled shot is blocked by Grund, picked up by Bowman. Bowman now working her way up. She's going to send it deep. Ref's going to call a tip. No icing. Bell Tire on a line change. Dolphins behind their own net. Palucci coming on ice with Kewer, Agbe, Martin, and Palucci. Martin taking the Dolphins all the way behind the net. Interrupts play. Agbe picks it up, trying to send it ahead for Palucci. Dolphins in their own zone. D-to-D pass. Coming up here through center. Agbe picks it up, sidesteps. Agbe working her way through. Agbe free. Palucci now with the puck. Backhanded shot. Glove down by the Dolphins and sent around. That's going to roll down but not make it for an icing. This is going to be picked up by Flanagan. Mackenzie, who sends it up to Palucci, who chips it in. 1:33 on the clock. Dolphins behind their own net. Coming out through neutral. Gaining the zone. Defended by Palucci. Slot. This shot pass disrupted by Flanagan. Sent up to Kazarowski. Kazarowski gaining the zone. Dobbs now. And that puck disrupted by the Dolphins with 1:10 on the clock. Dolphins making some moves through to get up into neutral. Defended by Mackenzie here. Pinned up on the boards. Picked free by Dobbs and sent ahead where the Dolphins grab it in neutral. Dolphins gain the zone. Working their way around. Caitlin shoving her to the corner. Sending it ahead. Off the wall. Picked up by the Dolphins at point. Shot in. Turned aside by Grund. Sent back to the point by the Dolphins. D-to-D pass. And a quick move. Switching spots. And now trying to find the slot. And a backdoor pass is going to be missed by the Dolphins. Now back up to the point. Shot in. Blocked by Grund. 24 seconds on the clock. Clemens trying to clear the puck. A little bit of shoving happening between these players. Dolphins circling the bell tire zone, working their way in. Shot in, off the post. Goes wide, picked up back at the point. Sent in off the side of the net now with no time remaining here in the second period. We will go for, I believe, an ice cut. Hopefully an ice cut. All right, so we'll be back here for the third period momentarily. All right, we're going to be back underway here for the third period. A little bit longer of an ice cut. I think they only have one Zam. And the other side needed to be cut as well. So as we get going, we've got Agbe out there with Palucci, Hewer, Martin, and McKenzie. Dolphins through neutral. This is going to be defended by Hewer, picked up by Martin. Martin turning, sending it around, finding Agbe on the wall. Agbe chipping it out to McKenzie. It gets picked up by the Dolphins, sending it around. Now McKenzie going up to Agbe. Agbe, a little bit of room. Agbe trying to dangle around and just gets picked off by the Dolphins. Good stick work by Agbe. And Dolphins now down in the corner. Sending a shot in, deflected aside, picked up by Agbe off the wall to get it out of the zone. 14-14 on the clock. Dolphins now coming in, blocked by Martin, sending it wide of the net, picked up by Agbe. Agbe turning up the boards, going to Dobbs. Dobbs gonna come across, hitting Clemens. Clemens tips it into the zone, and Bell Tire goes for a line change. Clemens down in the corner. Dolphins coming up through. Hewer taking us. Oh, that's offside, but we'll be all right and not call that. So as Hewer goes to the half wall, Clemens there to help. Bowman and Caitlin in for Bell Tire on D. Kazarowski in with Clemens out front. Was an empty Dolphins player to make this a 4-0 game. So 13:30 on the clock. Bell Tire trying to dig out of a hole here. All right, as we get going again, we're going to have Evans out with Cruciano, Dobbs at centerman, out with Palucci and McKenzie. Dobbs down to the ice. Dolphins, quick pass up through neutral, gaining the zone. Centering pass is going to go wide. He picked up at the half wall, dropped where Dobbs is intercepted. Dobbs sends it ahead. I'm sorry, that's Cruciano. Cruciano intercepted that pass and sent it ahead. Cruciano, no, down into the zone. Cruciano down in the corner, trying to get that puck up to Flanagan. And that's going to be sent across by Evans, where the Dolphins spread out and get through neutral here. Dolphins take the shot, blocked by Grund. 12:50 on the clock. Line change for Bell Tire. Agbe, Palucci, Hewer coming out with Caitlin and Martin. Hewer on the draw. Puck is down. Picked out by Martin. Martin's going to circle her own net, come around, and send it up through to Palucci, who gets a tip on it, chips it into the zone. Agbe on the hunt here. Palucci down behind the Dolphin net. That puck's going to come free up the wall, and that's going to be tripped up by Hewer. And now Martin on the defense here is going to touch up to pause play as we are going to go on to a Bell Tire penalty kill. So with the penalty kill, we're going to have our Martin, Palucci, Caitlin, and Agbe. Agbe on the draw. Puck is down. Dolphins with possession up top to their point. Sending it across. Palucci creating some pressure. Dolphins sending it around the net. Martin disrupting that pass. Flips out, and Dolphins regain possession. Agbe circling. Missed pass by the Dolphins. Send it back to the corner. Dolphins get a pass disrupted by Caitlin. Now pressured by Martin. Dolphins behind the Bell Tire net. Up top, shot blocked by Palucci. Sent the length. So that'll create time for a Bell Tire change. Kazarowski out with Dobbs, Martin, and Flanagan. Dolphins come up through neutral. Dolphins gain the zone. Disrupted by McKenzie. Puck is down, and a quick shot blocked by Grund. Kazarowski at the half wall. McKenzie. Dolphins out front. Martin with a stick lift to make that pass go through. Picked up by the Dolphins at the point. This is the circling around as the Dolphins. Drop pass by the Dolphins. Coming in for a shot. Blocked aside by Grund. McKenzie behind the net. Picked up by Martin. Martin chasing the Dolphins player around. Up top go the Dolphins. Shot goes wide of the net. That's going to circle out and is crept in by the Dolphins. Pass picked off by Martin. Martin now with space. Martin going one-on-one. As their line changes, Martin's shot off the chest of the goalie, and she chases behind the net, keeps the puck deep in the zone, and the Dolphins able to get that pass out. Agbe disrupting that pass up through neutral. 7 seconds on the penalty kill here. Pass up to Palucci. Palucci gains his own. Down into the corner. Agbe. Centering pass. Nobody home, and the Dolphins pick that off. The Flanagan's out on deep for Beltire. Out there with Hewer. Agbe. Palucci. Hewer disrupting that play. Getting down into the corner. 10 minutes remaining in the period. And that puck ended up in Dolphins behind the Beltire net. Flanagan sending that up the boards, looking for Agbe. Dolphins with possession now. Centering pass. Deflected out of the zone as the Dolphins went for a change. Beltire now going for a line change. Dolphins gain the zone. And that puck picked up by Kazarowski, sent up to the point, collected in by the Dolphins. Sent down deep. Bowman with possession, and that gets picked off by the Dolphins. Quick shot is turned aside by Grund. Now Dobbs with the puck. Dobbs coming up ice, sending up to Clemens, who chips it out into neutral. Dolphins with possession, looking to gain the Beltire zone. Dolphins retreating into their own zone as they come now back through neutral. Cross ice pass picked off by Dobbs, collected by Bowman. Bowman going up the boards, looking for Clemens. Hits the half wall and grabbed by the Dolphins. 9 minutes remaining here in the third period. Dolphins kicking that free, going up to their point. D-to-D pass. Pull back shot is blocked by Grund. And almost clear. Dolphins still with possession. Centering pass blocked by Kazarowski and sent the length of the ice. That's not going to make it down for an icing. Beltire's going to get a line change. So on ice, we're going to have Evans out with Cruciano, Hewer, Martin, and Palucci. So that'll be an icing on the Dolphins. 8:26 on the clock. As we restart here, we're going to be to the right of the Dolphins goalie. Hewer on the draw. Cruciano out there with Evans, Martin, and McKenzie. Dolphins coming up through their zone, gaining neutral, defended by Martin. Martin pushing wide, gets a stick on it, sends it behind the Beltire net. Hewer goes hard into the boards. McKenzie sending it up to the point where it gets picked up by the Dolphins and sent back in. Evans trying to clear, kept in by the Dolphins at the point. Centering pass goes wide, sent back in off the pad of Grund. And now Dolphins in the corner. Dolphins up to the point. Drop pass at the half wall, defended by Martin. Martin stepping in, grabbing the puck, sending it up to Evans. Dolphins with possession at point. Sending it back in is going to be blocked, covered up by Grund. With 7 minutes and 36 seconds remaining here in this third period. The Dolphins are going to take the face off here in the Beltire zone, picked up by Palucci. Palucci's going to clear it down. That's going to be waved icing. Sent around, we've got Palucci, Dobbs, Agbe, Palucci, and Flanagan on ice for Beltire. Dolphins down into the corner. Picking it around is Dobbs. Dobbs moving it up to Agbe. Agbe with room here. Agbe going to send it deep into the Dolphin zone. Tried to play by the Dolphins goalie. Rolls past their stick. Skipped out. Dobbs with the puck. Dobbs trying to get into the slot. This gets picked off by the Dolphins, and now they're retreating into their own zone as Palucci applies pressure. Dolphins D-to-D pass. Circling in their zone. Coming up through. Caitlin Flanagan getting a stick on it. Dolphins regaining possession, and Hewitt comes through to knock her off the puck. Sent around now. Clemens, backhand pass, trying to get it out of the zone. Dolphins save it in. Sent rink wide. Out to Kazarowski. Goes down into the Dolphin zone. Defense change. Bowman and Martin out on for Beltire. Clemens, Schuer, and Kazarowski. Puck up to center ice. Dolphins with possession. Out to the point. Martin to apply pressure. And Dolphins circling, retreating back to their point. D-to-D pass. Clemens to put on pressure. Puck goes wide. Picked up at the half wall by the Dolphins. Sent down into the corner. Defended by Martin. Martin pinning the Dolphins player against the board. Picking that puck free. Dolphins coming in. Deflected shot by Martin. Up into the netting to freeze play with 5:49 remaining in the game. As we get going again, we are going to have out Agbe, Palucci, Dobbs with the Flanagans on D. That's McKenzie sending it around, finding Agbe. Agbe trying to chip it off the boards and getting it deep into the zone. Picked up by the Dolphins as they go into the Beltire zone. Drop pass is going to be missed and blocked by Grung, sent out by Palucci. Tip pass is going to be no icing. Down into the Dolphins zone. Dolphins playing cross ice, spread out. Dolphins are going to gain the zone, chased by Agbe. Flanagan's going to send it around the boards where it'll be picked up at the point by the Dolphins and sent back in. Down into the opposite corner, sent to the half wall. Back down into the corner. Dolphins with possession. Half wall. Sent behind the Beltire net. Centering pass is now cleared out. This is going to be played by the Dolphins goalie. The wave icing. Cruciano stepping out with Evans, Hewer, Martin, and Palucci. Cross ice pass for the Dolphins. Played by Palucci. Sent back behind the net. Martin lifts stick to get that puck through. And that puck was trying to be cleared, sent back in. Palucci goes down to a knee to get that puck behind the Beltire net. Down into the corner are the Dolphins. Slot pass. Misses its mark. Goes up to the point. Saved in by the Dolphins. Pressure by Cruciano. Slot shot. Sails the net. And it's cleared by Palucci. Out to neutral. 3:58 on the clock. Dolphins with possession now. Coming in through, backhand shot, misses its mark. There's a Dolphins player down on the ice. As we start back up, we're going to have McKenzie out with, looks like Bowman, Clemens, Kazarowski, and Dobbs. This draw is going to happen just outside the Beltire zone, 3:49 on the clock. Dobbs on the draw. Puck is down. Dolphins with possession. Sending it up through neutral. Gaining the Beltire zone. McKenzie with the puck behind the Beltire net. Flipping directions, going back the opposite way. Collected at the point, but makes its way out to neutral. Chased by Kazarowski. Center ice. Dolphins player coming through. sending it aside down into the corner behind their net. Dolphins looking for a point pass, but nobody's there for the Dolphins as it rolls down into their zone. Off the end of her stick, regains possession and sends it up through neutral, where it's picked up and blocked in by Martin. Dolphins now with possession in their own zone, circling, sending it the other way through neutral. Agbe out there for Beltire. That puck sent in, where it's going to be chased down by Caitlin Flanagan. Bellucci Hewer out on ice for Beltire. Hewer going back the opposite way up to the point where the Dolphins send it back down to the half wall. Collected in by Caitlin, who backhands it behind the Beltire net. It's going to be picked up by Agbe. Agbe sending it up the boards. Going to come free, picked up by Bellucci. Bellucci and Hewer now gaining the zone. Shot in off the shin pad of a Dolphin player as Hewer's knocked to the ice. Bellucci trying to send it back in, blocked by the Dolphins. Behind the net is Agbe. Bellucci trying to backhand. That puck's going to come free and go up through neutral from the Dolphins. Defended by Caitlin. Dolphins gain the zone, blocked by Martin, and a stick on it goes out to neutral. 2:09 on the clock. Dolphins in their own zone. Dobbs chasing. This is going to be defended by Martin here on the left-hand side. Puck coming across. I believe that's going to end up in the back of the net. So that'll put this at a 5-goal game. 1:57 remaining here in the game. As we get going again, Kazarowski will be out with Clemens, Dobbs, McKenzie, Flanagan, and Bellucci. Dolphins with the puck, going up through neutral, gaining the zone. Shot, blocked, picked up by Clemens. Clemens chips out and sent back into neutral. Gaining the zone is the Dolphins, into the slot. Shot is blocked, picked up by Kazarowski, off her backhand, trying to push it out. Gets collected in by the Dolphins, but sent back out by Dobbs. Rolls down into the Dolphins zone. It's going to be played by the Dolphins goalie. Beltire went for a line change, and out on ice for Beltire is going to be Hewer, Agbe, Bellucci, and McKenzie. Dolphins behind the Beltire net. 1:09 on the clock. Hard into the corner goes Bellucci. Bellucci sending it up the ice. Collected in by the Dolphins at the point. Bellucci working that puck free, sending it around the boards. Dolphins going to collect it at the half wall. Not quite. Bellucci had other plans for that. 51 seconds remaining here in this game. Sent down. Dolphins in neutral. Gaining the zone. Defended by Flanagan. And now behind the net are the Dolphins. Going up top. Sending it down low. Centering pass. Misses its mark. Goes through and exits the zone where the Dolphins will come out to neutral. Beltire's going for a line change. Clemens jumping on with Dobbs. Agbe. 17 seconds. Dolphins in the slot. Quick shot. Sails the net. Picked up by Dobbs. Dobbs behind her own net. 7 seconds remaining. And that is going to be the end of the game and Beltire's time in Canada.